Echoes from the past. The movie opens with a sweeping aerial view of Wakanda, modern, vibrant, and thriving. A mysterious seismic tremor hits the capital, disrupting the vibranium mines. Queen Shuri, now the official ruler and protector, investigates the tremors herself. Ancient Wakandan symbols are discovered deep underground, glowing faintly. A vision haunts her, of past Black Panthers warning her of an ancient force. Ramonda's voice from Ancestral Plane whispers of a buried history Wakanda must face. 𝗨𝗪𝗰𝗀's spirit briefly appears, urging Shuri to unite the bloodlines. A cryptic message is revealed. The ancients are not at rest. Wakanda's uneasy peace. A political summit in Wakanda draws ambassadors from 𝗕𝗪𝗰𝗀, the Avengers, and other nations. Shuri is balancing diplomacy and leadership, but senses global tension rising. Namor warns Shuri that the oceans are shifting. Something old is awakening. Everett Ross returns, warning about global powers eyeing Wakanda's weaknesses. A Wakandan outpost in the Sahara is destroyed mysteriously, leaving only claw marks. Shuri calls in Okoye and Nakia for covert operations to investigate. Meanwhile, M'Baka challenges Shuri's leadership in council debates, demanding answers. Shuri reluctantly agrees to a joint defense force between tribes. The Rising Storm. Nakia discovers strange carvings and rituals in the Sahara ruins, predating known Wakandan history. Tribespeople speak of the Shadow Panther, a forgotten rival of Bast. A new villain named 𝗧𝗏𝗎, a fallen Wakandan sorcerer exiled centuries ago, resurfaces. 𝗧𝗏𝗎 taps into dark vibranium, a corrupted form buried beneath ancient lands. His goal: awaken the 𝗕𝗪𝗰, primal god sealed by Wakanda's first Panther King. Shuri's AI systems malfunction as the corrupted vibranium infects their tech. Ancestral records hidden by the royal family begin unlocking on their own. Tensions rise as M'Baku's tribe is attacked by shadow-like creatures at night. Forbidden knowledge. Shuri seeks answers from the ancestral plane, taking the heart-shaped herb once more. She is transported not to the royal plane, but to a darker, stormy realm. There she meets Nahanda, the first female Black Panther, who warns of a broken lineage. Nahanda reveals Shuri's bloodline is linked not just to Bast, but to the 𝗕𝗪𝗰 themselves. Shuri wakes in a cold sweat, frightened but determined to learn the truth. She discovers a hidden library beneath Mount 𝗬𝗫𝗀, full of scrolls and relics. A Wakandan historian confirms that the Black Panther's power was split long ago. Shuri decides to journey beyond Wakanda to find answers, against council orders. Journey to the cradle. Shuri, Okoye, and Nakia travel to an ancient desert temple known as the Cradle of Bast. They are guided by a reclusive, mystic tribe who are protectors of the old ways. Inside the temple, murals depict a panther god battling a horned beast, 𝗧𝗏𝗎𝗀. The tribe reveals that 𝗧𝗏𝗎𝗀 was once Bast's greatest disciple before turning on her. Shuri unlocks a sealed vault containing black crystal infused with dark vibranium. The spirit of Bast warns Shuri to not awaken the 𝗕𝗪𝗰 prematurely. Despite the warning, a quake shatters the crystal, and an entity whispers Shuri's name. The ground cracks open and shadow energy erupts into the skies. The darkening begins. Back in Wakanda, animals act erratically and crops begin to wither. Nature itself is corrupted. Dark vibranium storms roll over the landscape, cutting off cities from one another. Shadow creatures known as 𝗎𝗏𝗏 begin attacking remote villages. The Wakandan defense grid fails. Energy shields short-circuit unpredictably. M'Baku leads a resistance force to protect civilians as the capital comes under threat. Riri Williams, Ironheart, arrives with new tech to reinforce Wakanda systems. Shuri, now haunted by visions and whispers, debates sealing the cradle again. But the 𝗕𝗪𝗰 presence is already spreading, too late to stop the awakening. The villain revealed. 𝗧𝗏𝗎𝗀 appears publicly for the first time, half man, half shadow, wielding corrupted vibranium. He accuses Wakanda of hiding the truth of the ancestors and promises to free the blood. His followers include outcast tribes, 𝗕𝗃𝗃𝗃 defectors, and global rebels attracted by power. Namor confronts 𝗠𝗏𝗏𝗃 but is defeated easily, drained by the dark vibranium's energy. 𝗠𝗏𝗏𝗃 send a message. Wakanda has 3 days to surrender or face extinction. He reveals a massive dark temple rising from beneath Lake Victoria. Shuri, furious, vows to reclaim the Panther's legacy and avenge her people. She begins preparing for the ancient rite of the dual mantle, a forbidden ritual. The dual mantle. Shuri's research reveals a secret. A Black Panther once held both Bast's light and Zaria's shadow. She undergoes the ancient ritual, risking madness, to claim both sides of the ancestral power. A celestial trial begins inside her mind, facing visions of 𝗨𝗽𝗃𝗃𝗃 and her younger self. Killmonger tempts her to use shadow for justice. 𝗨𝗽 warns of losing her soul. Shuri finds balance in both. She emerges reborn, a panther of dusk and dawn. Her suit transforms, gleaming with purple and silver streaks, echoing both forces. Now partially bonded to the dark vibranium, she can track and manipulate it. But the risk remains. If she loses control, she becomes a vessel for 𝗠𝗏𝗏. Alliance of Warriors. Shuri calls for a grand council of all tribes, 𝗕𝗏𝗃𝗃, and even the Avengers for support. Namor, weakened but proud, agrees to fight alongside Wakanda, seeing a mutual threat. Riri Williams upgrades Wakandan armor with light tech to resist shadow corruption. Okoye forms a new elite unit, the Night Guard, to track 𝗠𝗏𝗏𝗃 at night. M'Baku swears loyalty to Shuri after witnessing her transformation. A tense alliance is formed, each leader knowing it may be their final battle. Plans are laid to strike at 𝗠𝗏𝗏𝗃's Dark Temple before the 𝗠𝗏𝗏 fully awaken. Shuri assigns each faction to a different region surrounding the temple, an all-front war. Rise of the 𝗠𝗏𝗏. As the alliance approaches the temple, reality begins warping. Time and light bend unnaturally. Massive creatures, forged of shadow and bone, rise from the ground. 𝗠𝗏𝗏𝗃 completes a blood ritual, opening a rift to the realm of the 𝗠𝗏𝗏. Shuri and Riri attempt to seal the rift using an ancestral relic, the 𝗕𝗹𝗰𝗴. The relic rejects them, shattering in Shuri's hand as she's thrown into the rift. Inside, Shuri witnesses the full form of the 𝗠𝗏𝗏, colossal godlike entities. They speak in ancient tongues, offering her dominion if she betrays her people. Shuri refuses, unleashing a radiant pulse that disrupts the portal, but not fully closes it. The fall of Wakanda skies. In Shuri's absence, the battle rages at the temple's gates. Dark storms sweep across Wakanda, knocking out satellites and cutting communications. 𝗠𝗏𝗏𝗃 breach the Golden City, forcing civilians to evacuate underground. Queen Ramonda's voice appears again to guide the Night Guard from beyond. Riri and M'Baku lead a daring defense of the vibranium vaults. A giant 𝗠𝗏𝗏 beast descends from the sky, roaring over the city. With no panther to protect them, morale begins to collapse. Just as all hope seems lost, Shuri returns through a blinding light in the sky. Shuri's return and awakening. Shuri lands amidst the chaos, glowing with power, her eyes burning with twilight energy. Her new suit absorbs and neutralizes the 𝗠𝗏𝗏𝗃's corruption. She leads the charge to reclaim the city, moving with speed and fury. Using her dual power, she purifies a large radius of corrupted land. She reconnects with Riri and Okoye, forming a new strike team. Shuri shares a vision. Only by confronting Zari in the ancestral nexus can they end this. The nexus, hidden in the deepest mountain caves, is where the first Panther was born. They begin preparations for one final confrontation. Infiltration of the nexus. Shuri's team ventures into the sacred mountain, facing guardians both spectral and ancient. They pass through illusions, memories, and ancestral echoes, testing their resolve. Okoye is forced to relive her past failures and loss. Riri sees a future where Wakanda falls, driven mad with fear. But the team presses forward, reaching the chamber of the Nexus. 𝗕𝗏𝗰𝗴 awaits, seated upon a throne made of bones and corrupted crystal. He greets Shuri as daughter of the Rift and demands she accept her dark inheritance. Shuri refuses, and the chamber begins to collapse as battle erupts. The duel of bloodlines. 𝗕𝗏𝗰𝗴 and Shuri engage in an intense psychic and physical duel spanning dimensions. Their battle shifts from a nexus to ancestral planes and back again. Each blow echoes with the power of gods and ancestors. 𝗕𝗏𝗰𝗴 reveals he was once chosen as a panther, but corrupted by grief and vengeance. He accuses the royal bloodline of betrayal and lies. Shuri admits Wakanda buried too many truths, but she chooses to lead with clarity. As they clash, Shuri's energy begins to destabilize. The 𝗕𝗏𝗰𝗴 try to overtake her. She must choose: destroy herself to seal the rift, or surrender to Shadow. The final choice. As her mind fractures, 𝗨𝗪 appears again, offering peace and guidance. He reminds Shuri of who she is, not just a ruler, but a bridge. Shuri reaches deep into her soul, choosing unity over power. She channels both Bast and the purified essence of 𝗕𝗏𝗰𝗴's pain. Rather than kill him, she pulls his soul from the shadows. 𝗕𝗏𝗰𝗴 screams as the corruption is torn from him and the 𝗕𝗏𝗰 portal implodes. The Nexus collapses, but Shuri and her allies escape in time. Light returns to Wakanda. The skies clear and peace descends. Aftermath and rebuilding. Wakanda begins rebuilding, mourning the fallen and honoring the brave. 𝗕𝗏𝗰𝗴's body is buried in a neutral land, as per ancient rites. The 𝗕𝗏𝗰𝗴's influence lingers, but the land begins healing. Tribal leaders agree to rewrite the Wakandan history scrolls. Truth must be preserved. Riri decides to stay in Wakanda to help train young engineers. M'Baku is elected co-leader with Shuri, forming a dual council. Okoye takes a sabbatical, wandering to rediscover herself. The heart-shaped her begins to regrow, symbolizing a new era, a new generation. Children are shown playing in the streets, telling stories of the Black Panther. Shuri opens a new academy for science and tradition, combining tech and heritage. The youth begin training in both combat and diplomacy. A new heir to the Panther legacy is hinted at, a girl with powers unlike any before. Shuri adopts a new role, the Guardian of the Rift, watching over forbidden realms. A sculpture of T'Challa, Nhanda, and Shuri is unveiled in the capital. Peace treaties are signed with Talokan, and alliances with outer nations are formed. The world begins to respect Wakanda not just for its resources, but for its wisdom. Seeds of Tomorrow. Far across the ocean, strange readings emerge near Antarctica, another vibranium anomaly. An old enemy watches from space. A post-credit tease of Dr. Doom. An envoy from the X-Men arrives in Wakanda, seeking Shuri's audience. Storm is mentioned by name, setting up a powerful future connection. In the forests, a young Wakandan hears whispers of the Panther spirits. The 𝗕𝗏𝗰𝗴's essence is shown imprisoned, but a crack begins to form. Balance was restored, but at a cost. Wakanda must remain vigilant. The world may not be ready for what's coming next. Legacy eternal. Shuri writes a journal for future generations. The Panther's truth. She admits her fears, her failures, and her hope. A final visit to the ancestral plane shows T'Challa smiling, resting peacefully. Ramonda and Nhanda appear, blessing Shuri for her courage. She walks alone through the rebuilt Golden City, feeling the people's gratitude. Her voiceover, Wakanda is not just a land. It is a legacy, and it lives through us all. Drums rise in rhythm as children dance in traditional ceremony. The credits begin, honoring Chadwick Boseman with glowing golden script. Post-credit scene, bloodline revealed. In a hidden chamber, a scroll reveals a lineage tracing back to the Outer Realms.